Good evening. Happy Thursday, and welcome back to the man cave. It's that time of the week again. Tanya's with us upstairs. Tanya's
And
running the
Lily.
show, and Lily. Yeah, I'm not sure where Brother Jeff is tonight. He's playing hooky maybe, so I'm not sure if he'll show up later or not. But we'll be starting without the Florida faction tonight. I'm not sure where Jeff is. I sent him. I don't know if I probably may have not given Jeff enough of an alert that we were coming back on tonight. I'm not sure if he saw it or not. Anthony, welcome back. Davidson's reserved for Anthony. Yeah, we're gonna have a drink here tonight. Uh, Hank's with us. Good deal. Uh, I'm going to have some benchmarks tonight, but I wanted to talk a little bit about benchmark. Everybody likes Buffalo Trace. That's, well, I'm not going to say everybody. Most people tend to like Buffalo Trace because it's a really good bourbon at its price point. Uh, nice, Ryan. I didn't know. I hope you didn't lose your Kamado Joe. But benchmark. This is benchmark. This is the base line bourbon from the Buffalo Trace people. This is the same recipe as Buffalo Trace. This is just aged. I think the benchmark is a 3-year-old bourbon. It's kind of like the Jack Daniel's Old Number Seven from the Jack Daniel's line. It's the bottom end. It's the one that's not been aged as long. It's not as expensive. This was $12.95 for this bottle. Now, I happened to be in my local liquor store a couple weeks ago, and there are a lot of different versions of Benchmark. So I got to looking, and my local shop had the entire line. So I decided I was going to pick all these up. So we started with the Benchmark, the plain Jane Benchmark number 8. They put that number 8 on there. It's old number 8 brand. This is not 8 years old. 8 years old is Buffalo Trace, the Buffalo Trace. Now, the next version up the ladder from this is called Benchmark Top Floor, and this is apparently uh, a mix of barrels from the top floor of one of their rick houses, and it's supposed to make it special at some level. Now, back to the original. This is 80 proof bourbon, 40% ABV, 80 proof, the regular stuff. This top floor is bottled at 86 proof, so it's a little higher alcohol. It's about the same price. It's 13 or $14 a bottle. This is still pretty inexpensive, but it's 86 proof, and it's supposedly uh, selected from barrels that are in a premium location in the rick house where those are aged. The next bottle up the ladder at Benchmark from the Benchmark line is called Small Batch. And what small batches typically are, the the head distiller, or the whatever the head guy's name is that determines what's good, bad, and ugly in the barrels in these rick houses. Uh, they pick a group of barrels that have what they call favorable characteristics, and those are blended into what's called small batch. This small batch is bottled at 90 proof. It's a little bit higher ABV yet again than the other two. So the next thing up the ladder from the small batch is the single barrel. Single barrel choices. This one is bottled at 95 proof. It's a little higher yet alcohol than the next one down the line. But single barrels are supposedly bottled from individual barrels that have favorable characteristics. This one, however, a lot of your single barrel stuff in your higher end bourbons, they'll tell you what the barrel number was and all of that mess to specifically identify what kind of barrel that came from. This doesn't have any kind of any indication whatsoever on the bottle about the barrel or the location of that barrel and its storage. But that's single barrel. Now, the next one up the line from this is bonded. And anytime you have bottled in bond, it's always bottled at 100 proof. This is not going to be a single barrel. And it's not going to be any of those other things. It's just bottled in bond, which means there's a set of guidelines we've talked about before. If you want to know what bottled in bond means, I'd have a look at it, and see all the different requirements for it to be bottled in bond. And then the final step in this 6-rung ladder on benchmark is the full proof. Now, what this is going to be is, this does not say single barrel. What they've probably done is they've probably blended a batch of barrels and bottled it at cask strength, which in this case is 125 proof. And on this one, I have 2 bottles of that. I haven't opened any of these others yet, but I was able to get 2 bottles of the full proof. So I typically like full proof offerings, and that's the only one of these I've tasted so far, and that's what I'm going to have tonight. So if you're having a drink with me, let me know what you're having in the comments here. Let me know where you're having it, and let's see. I'm going to go ahead and get mine poured. I had some very high hopes for this guy, because let me tell you once again, this is the same mash bill, the same recipe as Buffalo Trace. This is the next, Buffalo Trace is the next thing up the ladder from benchmark. Then you have Eagle Rare, that's one above Buffalo Trace, and then you have George T. Stagg, which is an aged version of exactly what's in this bottle. It's aged. The Stagg is aged for at least 10 years, I believe. So, what I was hoping for, I've only tasted Stagg once, and I was hoping when I bought this that I was going to have something that resembled Stagg in some way, shape, or form, and it does. You can taste some of the same characteristics of Stagg in that bottle, and that's a $24 bottle. You can't beat that. You're not going to find hardly anything that's cask strength or barrel proof that's worth having that is $24 for a bottle. So cheers, everybody. Tanya, are you having a drink with us tonight?
I am having some water in my Wawa cup.
Travis makes his own whiskey at 115. This is good. That's by far the best $24 bottle of whiskey or bourbon. I can't call that whiskey, I don't guess, that I've ever had. It's really good. So we don't have a big crowd with us tonight, but we got a lot of our regulars here. Hank's having his Tito's. That's a staple for Hank.
And Randy's doing his Woodford.
Woodford, yep. And Andrew down there is having some of that Jack Single Barrel. That's still one of my favorites.
And Fran is having some nice cold Pinot Grigio. Is that what it is? Or Pinot Grigio?
There's my Jack Single Barrel right there behind me. And right there is the Single Barrel Proof, which I've not been able to conquer that one yet. That one has still eluding me. I'm working on that one slowly. Okay. Well, we'll dive into it here. I wanted to talk a little bit tonight about the SMOBOT. So, Tanya, we'll bring you back in a bit. Let me get going here. if you're not familiar with the SMOBOT, I'm going to show it to you here in a minute, but I reached out to these people a couple of weeks ago to see if I could get them to send me one of these temperature control systems so I could try it out and demo it for you guys. So yeah, Andrew, that's what I've been having to do with the jack. It takes, if I pour myself an ounce and a half pour of that, it takes 3 or 4 drops of water to open it up enough to where I can enjoy it. So, but I talked to the guys at SMOBOT, and they sent me a nice kit of stuff. I told them I'd like to do some demo on the Kamado Joe and on the Weber kettle. So they sent me the things I needed to do both, and I played with it for a few days before I actually cooked on it. But this is the SMOBOT. If you haven't seen one of these before, what it is, it's a temperature control system that does not use a fan. What you see in the box here on the left side of the box, that's the controller that you use. You can operate all the functions of this controller right from the buttons on the front panel, or you can connect it to Wi-Fi and operate it from your phone, tablet, or from your PC through a web browser. So it has all that functionality. But this this piece right here is a replacement top vent for the Kamado, and what you see right there is just, if you've got one of the old style Kamados that's got the cast iron daisy wheel, this piece replaces the daisy wheel. The spinner part of the daisy wheel fits right on top. If you have one of the newer Kamados that doesn't have a daisy wheel, they've got these caps. They've got this in 2 different sizes to fit whichever style Kamado you might have, but this will replace your Kamado top vent cap, and then the SMOBOT device mounts to the top of that. But underneath, you can see it comes with the pieces you need to mount it. It comes with some gasket material also that you might need to install on the inside of this replacement chimney to get a good snug fit on your Kamado. But that's what it looks like on the inside. And I did install some extra gasket material in there to get a nice tight fit on my Kamado Joe Classic. And the rest of the stuff that comes with it, it comes with one ambient probe that's got an alligator clip on the end, and it comes with 2 meat probes. So you can monitor 2 meats and the ambient all at the same time. And so in my case, I needed to mount the SMOBOT on the replacement chimney. But this tool, this place right here, this, like I said, this will mount on the part of the cast iron vent, like the old style Kamado Joe caps, or the current, or the regular big green egg caps. This will mount right on there and just replace that spinner. But this is the SMOBOT, and what this is a servo controlled device that opens and closes this top vent to allow adjustments in the natural airflow within the Kamado. It's not going to use a fan. It's just going to regulate the airflow through the Kamado from this top vent. And this is the controller. It's I don't know how to describe the size on that. If you've seen the Fireboard controller, it's similar in size to the Fireboard. It's about that same size, maybe slightly smaller than the Fireboard. And there's just a close-up picture of the servo. The little wire that runs off this servo connects directly to the side of that controller box, and that's how it communicates. And this thing just opens and closes as we go. And there's a little bit wider out picture of that same thing. And when you fire this guy up for the first time, it gives you that ID number, and that's the ID number that you need when you're setting up your Wi-Fi and your web browser account, so it can ID you and know who you are. But the Wi-Fi setup on this thing was really easy and simple as well. I had absolutely no problems with it. So here it is pictured mounted on top of my Kamado Joe Classic. Before I actually did any cooking, I played with it for a while. I fired it up and let it run just to see how well it controlled things. And it does a good job. This is looking down on this picture. You can see that top vent's just barely open. I was running at 225 degrees. And in this particular setup, I had the bottom vent open maybe 2 inches. I had it open further than I would normally open one for 225, and that's where it was running mostly for the top. And actually, in that picture, it hadn't gotten up quite to 225 yet. It's just hanging around 200 there. And I guess that's another picture of it opened up just a little bit more than it was in the previous picture. But it's kind of neat. So I played with it for a while and got comfortable with how it worked, how the app interfaces with it, and how you can interface to this guy through the website. So I decided yesterday I'm going to go ahead and do a cook, and I have made video of this, and the video of this demo of the SMOBOT and this first cook I did with it will come online tomorrow evening on my YouTube channel and on my Facebook page. So I picked up some beef short ribs at Publix the other night. As you know, for those of you that follow me regularly, beef short ribs are my favorite. They're my favorite of all the barbecue meats. And I usually can go in Publix and get a whole rack that's not been cut down like this. But the other day they didn't have any. So I just bought this 4-pack of short ribs that were already cut. And these are just pictures. I took several pictures because I needed a thumbnail for the video, and I wasn't sure what I was going to come up with exactly. So on these short ribs, I just made a simple rub to go on them. I made my beef rub, or one of the beef rubs I've been playing with, which is my simple salt, pepper, garlic, that I add some ground cumin and some ground coriander to that. And that's basically what you see here. It's 1 part, or actually I guess I can just give you the exact measurements I used on this because I didn't publish that information with the video. This is I used 1/3 cup of granulated garlic, 1/3 cup of black pepper, 2/3 of a cup of kosher salt. I used 1 teaspoon of, I took 1 teaspoon of whole cumin and 1 tablespoon of whole coriander and put them in my spice grinder and ground them down and added them to this. And that's what we have here for this rub. So at that, I seasoned them, and I used a little Worcestershire sauce as a binder here because these ribs were a little, they were not wet enough on their own, and I was in a hurry to get these in the refrigerator. So I used a little Worcestershire sauce to bind that rub to it. I threw them in a vacuum seal bag and tossed them in the refrigerator overnight. I like to salt my meat at least 12 hours in advance on something like this. It gives the salt plenty of time to do its thing. So what day is today? Thursday. Yesterday, about lunchtime or so, I got these out of the refrigerator. I fired up. Are my pictures out of order? They might be. No, I just didn't take a picture of that. I fired up the grill. I fired up the Kamado Joe Classic, put some smoking wood in, and then engaged the SMOBOT. And this is a picture of the SMOBOT app screen right after I fired it up. I had just engaged it. I connected my ambient probe to the stem of the dome thermometer inside the Kamado Joe, and it just had it in there for a couple of minutes. And I did this little screenshot from the app, and I did another screenshot from the web interface on my PC because this one's just easier to see. It makes a bigger picture. And once again, we had just got started here, and we're coming up to temperature. And this screen shows you some information. It shows you where your set point is. This is where I've told the smoker that I want to run. This next temperature here is the ambient temperature currently. These next two are your meat probes. And since I didn't have a meat probe connected, we're not getting any data back from that. And this number over here, this damper, this number is a little deceiving. It says that the damper is 93% open, and but it's not really 93% open. And this is something I meant to ask the SMOBOT guys about. I talked to one of them just earlier today, and I forgot to ask this question. So if my estimations are correct, when that number is at about 35%, the SMOBOT's completely closed. The vent is completely closed. So anything below 35%, it's really closed. And I don't know what the upper end of it is, but it moves. There's a lot of wiggle room between fully closed and zero, and there's probably some more wiggle room between fully open and there. But this number is a little deceiving. Like I said, it's 50 doesn't mean that it's 50% open. It's just an interesting reference. And if any of you here have this, you know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, this number doesn't hold a lot of relevance in terms of how much the vent's open. When we go back to this picture back here, this, for instance, if I was looking at that monitor screen for this, it would probably be telling me that I'm 38 or 40% open, or 40% or so in this picture right here. So that little piece of it's a little confusing as to the relevance of the number. But anyway, I just took another picture of it here while the grill's coming up to temperature, and it's open a little bit more in this picture because it's letting the draft go, because I set up to do the first part of this cook at 225 degrees. So it's still coming up to temperature in that picture. And here's a video that I just shot, just so you can kind of see that there's a nice smoke draft coming out of there. It's working really well. It just does. And we're at about 200 degrees there, it looks like, based on where the thermometer needle is. And well, it's at about 196 on the pit. But so you can see all this from this controller. And this controller, you can do all of your control from the buttons on this controller. You don't have to use the app. That's advantageous in some situations. Like if you were going to take your SMOBOT camping with you, or take a Kamado Joe somewhere where you don't have Wi-Fi access, you can still use this. Controller without any kind of Wi-Fi connection, because it'll run just right here on the controller. These up and down arrows right here scroll you through the various settings that are available, and the plus and minus adjust it. If I hit the plus or minus on this screen right here, it would change my set point, and it would come up and show me the set point change here on the controller. So here we are, about the time the grill comes up to temp. This is the screen from the phone app, and you can see my graph here. The bottom line down here is time. The blue line's our ambient temp, and the white line here is our set temp. And we're going to see that same thing here on the web interface. So you can see what all's going on here. This is about a 25-minute span here, from 12:30 to 12:56. That's after I lit it and engaged it. It took 25 minutes or so, based on the way I lit this, to get it up to close to right at 225. And for those of you that have been cooking on Kamados for a long time, you know you can speed that up or you can slow it down based on how you choose to light the grill. If you light the grill in two places, it'll come up a lot quicker than if you light it in just one. So Uh, I wanted to shoot these screenshots at relevant places. So at about right here, we're about ready to put the ribs on. So uh, this is what the ribs look like. You know, they kind of darken up a little bit after they've been marinating in the salt and the seasonings in the refrigerator overnight. So that's what they look like coming out of the fridge. So I set these guys on the grill, bone side down, and my goal here is to cook these for roughly 3 hours in the low temperature smoke, just to get some smoke and color on these guys. So here's another screenshot. So you can see here we've had a dip in the temperature, and that's where I opened the dome to put the ribs on. Now the SMOBOT has a lid open detection feature like a lot of the other temp controllers do. And what happens is once you've had the lid open long enough to where the controller detects a rapid drop in temperature over a very short time, what it does is it closes the vent all the way. It closes the top vent all the way. So once you close the lid, you're not having a big draft, which would cause a Kamado grill to overshoot your temperature. It shuts down the airflow long enough to let it stabilize before it starts letting the airflow run back through. And here's that same screen from the web interface. You can see out here on the edge where we've had our temperature drop. And you can also see that this damper setting's down at 15%. And like I told you before, anything below about 35% on that number, that damper's fully closed. I should have taken a picture of the damper at this point, and I just didn't do it. Here we are about 90 minutes into the cook. I wanted to open it up and take a picture and show how the ribs were starting to take on color after being in the smoke for 90 minutes. And is this picture out of sequence as well? No. Okay, that picture is at 90 minutes, and I didn't take screenshots here. I went on to the next phase of the cook. At this point, we're close to the 3 hour mark, which is where I'm going to change gears in my cook a little bit. I got my braising pan out. I chopped an onion. I smashed a couple of cloves of garlic. I got some fresh thyme off of one of my thyme plants outside. I got some whole coriander, whole cumin, and a pinch of red pepper flake to go in that braising pan. Let's see. Hank says, "Is the grill temps?" Let's move on. The SMOBOT is monitoring its own ambient probe, which is a wire that's running into my grill, and I've got the alligator clipped to the back to the stem of the dome thermometer. Yes. So Hank, the answer to that question, your question there is yes. I was having a hard time understanding there just a minute, but yes, that's how it's set up. So I'm setting up my braising pan here, and into the braising pan we put, well, here's a look at the graph right before I'm ready to put the ribs in the braising pan. You can see this dip here in the middle. That's the temperature dip where I opened the grill to look at those ribs at the 90-minute mark. That's where we had a temperature drop right there. And let's go on to the next one here. You can see here how smoothly this thing's held temperature between the times I've had that lid open. Back here, we were just coming up to temp, and right here's where I opened the grill to put the ribs on, closed it up, it comes back to temperature, and it's smooth sailing all the way out here to the 90-minute mark where I opened it again just to take a picture of the ribs, closed it back up, and then we've got smooth sailing out here to about the 3 hour mark, because at the 3 hour mark is where I'm going to put my braise together, and that's what the ribs look like 3 hours in. So I put those in my braising pan, and I put the beer and the beef stock in. We've got a 50-50 mixture of regular salted beef stock. I went ahead and used that where I wouldn't have to worry about adding any salt to the braise. And mixing it 50-50 with beer makes it not too salty. So Then I put the lid back on the brazier, tossed it back on the Joe, and the next thing I did as soon as I closed that lid is I came out to the controller and I raised the temperature, the set temperature to 325. You got to do that if you want to braise, because at 225 you'll never get a simmer going inside that braising pan. Your crock pots typically on low, your crock pots are running at 300 to 325. So that's where you would want your grill to be running also if you want it to behave like a crock pot, which is in essence what we're doing here. So I raised that temperature, and here we'll look at it on the other screen. You can see it. You can see it here as well. Hang on just a minute. I'm getting a phone call, so sorry. You can see here where I raised the temperature, and this red block up here is a question that I asked about when I spoke to the SMOBOT guy earlier this evening. There may be a little bug going on there where it detected a out of temperature range, which it should have in reality, because I had an alarm set on this, and for the ambient temperature, when you set an alarm on this thing, what you do is you don't set a high and a low like you do on a typical setup. You set up a spread basically, and I had my spread set up for 30 degrees. And when you set it up for 30 degrees, you're setting a alarm to go off if your temperature falls 30 degrees below the set point or goes 30 degrees above the set point. And during this temperature change, somehow or another, the web side of this detected an alarm situation, but I didn't get the same alarm on the phone app, and they're going to look at that, and I just didn't know how to clear it out. So that's why we have that error there. So while that's cooking, I'm going to plan to let that go for about 2.5 or 3 hours in that braise. So getting down to where I've got an hour and a half to go, I wanted to cook some grits, because I'm going to serve that over some stone ground grits. And I was getting that ready. And here we have another quick video clip. And here, what we're doing is I am going to, did I do it there? I did not. That's just what it looks like there. You're going to have to watch my video of this cook to see all the details. But what was getting ready to happen here was I was going to add a little bit of a cornstarch slurry to this braising liquid to thicken it up just a little bit, where I can use it as a sauce after the cook. So here we are near the end of the cook, and let me go ahead and go to the next screen where it's a little easier to see that data. These look a little more jagged up here, and the reason they do is because I was opening the grill a lot more frequently after I had brought that thing up to 325, because I was doing things like shooting that little video clip you just saw. I was opening it up to add cornstarch slurry. I opened it twice actually to add cornstarch slurry, because I didn't add quite enough the first time I added, and I had to come back in and add just a tad more to get the consistency I was looking for in that sauce. So this is what it looked like in the pan when I pulled the pan off. That sauce has got a thickness to it that's just perfect for a drizzle sauce at the end. And I served that in a little cast iron serving dish on a bed of stone ground grits with some of that sauce drizzled on top of it, and some green onions for a garnish. That's the end of the line on those pictures. So I need to come back here and have a look, Tanya, at any questions that I need to look at specifically that have come up here on this. Ryan, I'm not still using it, but I still have it. It's still sitting on my shelf over here. I'm using the JVR VAC 100 now. It's a lot better product overall. But that cheap Chinese one I had worked fairly well. I only had one issue with it, and it's that the Teflon tape on the sealer bar had to be replaced quite frequently because it would kink up and crimp and cause me to get some seals that weren't perfect. Yeah, thanks, Carl. That and Andrew both. That looked it was good. And grits are something I like to serve stuff like that over. But you could also serve that over mashed potatoes. You know, there's a lot of things that would be good basis for that. You could serve it. You know, I don't know. I wish I had somebody like Chef Eric here to tell me, Chef. I don't know if I've seen. Yeah, chefs serve stuff. I've seen chefs serve stuff over grits before because he likes to make a Gruyere cheese grits. Joe, yes, I did. I was. If you here at the beginning of the stream, I talked about that. They did provide this for me. I reached out to them and asked if they would give me this product to do some demos with, and so I can show this stuff to you guys. And they also sent me the equipment I need to connect it to my Weber 26-inch kettle. So we're going to do some of that also. But yes, this was provided to me. I did not buy this unit. What else is it? Risotto. Yeah, you could do risotto. And Anthony, I am fully guilty of never having learned how to cook risotto. It's something I probably need to do. And Tanya, that's probably something we need to learn to do in the Instant Pot, because I do know that if you're going to do risotto while it's cooking, you got to stand there with it and stir it. And I tend to avoid things like that because if I'm preparing a meal, I've got multiple things going on, and I don't want to be tied to either one of them for any length of time. Yeah, Joe, no problem, Joe. I'm upfront about that. If somebody's giving me something, I'm more than happy to let you guys know that. And but here's the deal. One of the things you won't see me do is you'll rarely ever see me give a bad review, because if I won't take product that people offer me if I don't think I'm going to like it, or I don't think it's something I would recommend. But if I've reached out to somebody and asked for the product, it's because I think it's a viable product. This thing has fascinated me to no end. I've seen it around, and all the other controllers I've been through, you guys, like the guys that have been around following me for a while, I've had a lot of this stuff. And Ryan, I'm not a member. I asked for membership to that group 2 or 3 days ago, and I've not been accepted yet. So whoever's running that group is asleep at the wheel. So yeah, I'm trying to get into that group. I would like to get with some of the other people who know more about this product than I do, so I can learn something from them. But this robotic piece, one of the things that SMOBOT owners, and I've heard this over and over again from SMOBOT owners, one of the things they love about the SMOBOT, they love the fact that it doesn't have a fan, and they love the fact that it doesn't have a fan for 2 reasons. And the main reason is that it's more efficient with your charcoal. I'll admit fully that the charcoal efficiency is not as good when you've got a fan blowing on it. It will burn more charcoal than necessary over the cook time, because anytime just about you turn a fan on inside of a Kamado, you're creating a positive pressure, and some of that's backflowing back out of the same hole the air's coming in. You can watch it happen on a Kamado, and the more powerful the fan you have is, the worse it is. And some of these fans on some of these controllers are very powerful. They have way too much airflow for a Kamado. You've got some of them that'll allow you to control that fan velocity where you can minimize that, but most of them do not give you that functionality. And but the SMOBOT owners like it because it is the most efficient one. And the other thing that I like about it, it's just one less piece of equipment. It's kind of you don't have to worry about the equipment. You don't have to worry about a fan going bad, I don't guess. But on this one, instead of having a fan to deal with, you've got the servo up top. And that chimney replacement that I put on there, if I don't want to use the the SMOBOT, I've got two options. The SMOBOT, you can turn the SMOBOT on and tell it to run in the manual mode, and I can manually move that opening at the top by moving that servo arm and set it fully open or set it wherever I want it. And what was that, Tanya, that last comment that was up there? Bring that back. The Russ's comment about the battery. That is something that's nice. And I've been running mine off of battery the whole time. The SMOBOT comes with, it receives its power from a USB cable, a mini USB, and you can, it comes with one of the plug adapters where you can plug it into a power outlet or an extension cord, or you can plug it into a USB battery. And I've been running mine exclusively on a USB battery. And this thing draws so little power that I am fully confident that I could run this thing for 24 hours or maybe even longer on one of the smaller 5,000 milliamp hour USB batteries. It does not draw much at all. So, so there, he says 10 hours for every 1,000 milliamp hour. So that means a 5,000 milliamp hour battery would give me approximately 50 hours of runtime. That's amazing. You know, and that being the case, I'm always going to run this on a battery. I'm not going to run it. I'm not going to plug it in and drag an extension cord to that particular Kamado. That Kamado that I'm running this on is the furthest away from any power outlet that I have outside. And so yeah, I do the same thing when I run the Fireboard. I'm running it off a battery also, or it has a built-in battery that's rechargeable. And but it always seems that when I'm ready to start a cook, that battery's not charged enough in that to last the whole cook because of whatever I did with it prior to that. Yes, Joe, you only control the SMOBOT only controls the top vent. You set the bottom vent where you want it to begin with, or you can tweak it during the cook. I believe that from what I've seen so far, if you set your bottom vent open about 2 inches, you'll be fine for about any temperature you'd want to go. When I was doing the cook yesterday on the ribs, if you watch on the video, I had it closed up tighter than that at the beginning, and when I got ready to run up to 325, I had to open it just a little bit more to get it up there. That's also why on that graph you saw that curve coming up to 325 was a little flatter than it could have been if I'd have had that vent opened up a little bit more. So this is an issue here. Russ says to get the pack like an anchor. Yeah, I've seen that. I've got one of my battery packs is an anchor, but the battery that I've actually been running this one on out here is my Jackery power station, and when I hit the button to activate that USB power output, it stays on. It won't shut itself down. But yeah, I guess that is a consideration. Some of the USB batteries aren't smart enough to keep running if they don't see a constant current draw coming. They'll shut down. I have seen that when I'm charging something with one of those batteries, like if I'm charging these Aftershocks headphones, or if I'm charging the watch or something else. When that charge is over, that battery does shut itself down. So that's something to consider as well. I've been talking too much and I'm behind on this glass of bourbon, guys. Another piece of good news is Curtis Pope, who's the founder of SMOBOT. He's going to come on with me sometime early July. So we're going to have him on here. And by the time he's on, I'll have some more experience with this thing, and I'll have a better set of questions prepared for him. And we'll also get to hear about how this product came to be and a little bit more inside information on how it works. So keep that in mind. Stay tuned for that. I will. I think we're tentatively targeting July the 6th. Thursday, July the 6th, to have Curtis on with us to talk about the SMOBOT in some depth. Any other questions we have? Any questions about the SMOBOT? Any questions about some cooking or whatever else? We got, yeah, Ryan says it's been starting as a Kickstarter. Buffalo trays. Yeah, Buffalo trays. I like Buffalo trays okay, but it's harder to come by. So I typically don't even buy it. I don't buy it when I do see it. Yeah, I don't know if I remember when the SMOBOT Kickstarter was out there. I got a bad taste in my mouth for Kickstarters when Meter came along and did theirs and took 2 or 3 years to provide product for the people that had given them a lot of money. I've been a little hesitant on Kickstarter since I saw that happen. But Kickstarter is a great way for a lot of people to generate the revenue they need to get rolling. And I've seen a lot of good products that are out there today that are still running well that started out through Kickstarter. What else we got? Well, somebody got a deal because that's $369 worth. I want one, but I just can't make myself pull the trigger on it. I'm not. I don't know how to put it. The wireless temperature probes. The Meter block is the only one that I feel potentially would make me happy if I had it. But I've heard too many people talk about having connectivity issues with it. But once again, I can't let that hold a lot of water because I know that everybody's home Wi-Fi is not created equal. And I've got great Wi-Fi here at the man cave and the rest of our property. We've got a good system. Anthony, mom's doing well. She's once again, she's ahead of schedule on her rehab. She's driving. She's already back driving again. So I think in the next 2 to 4 weeks, I think she's going to be fully past it. She's done better than expected. This particular surgery, she had a little more difficult time dealing with post-op pain this time around than she had the first time, but it wasn't dramatically more difficult, but she's doing well. And Carl, I have done pork steaks. I've done them a few times, and I like to do pork steaks in a similar way to the way I just did these ribs I showed you. But with a pork steak, I like to get pork steaks that are an inch thick. What I did the last time I did pork steaks is I bought a Boston butt and handed it to the butcher, and I said, I want you to slice this guy this direction for me in 1 inch thick slices, and he did. So for a pork steak, maybe I'll do pork steaks again sometime soon and make a video because they're really good, but it's a Boston butt, guys. It's a pork steak. What I like to do is char mine. I like to salt it once again ahead of time. And for a pork steak, I'm going to char it over direct coals and get some nice char on the outside of it. And then I'm going to finish it in a braise, just like I would take, since they're pork steaks and since they're a lot larger than those ribs, I would get a foil pan big enough that I could kind of lay them in there. And I'm going to pour in a bottle of barbecue sauce that I'm going to have diluted slightly with something like apple juice, maybe a little apple juice and a little vinegar to thin that out. And I'm going to let those guys finish up in that braise until they're about ready to fall apart. That's how I like to do pork steaks. So it's been a while since I've done any. So Cindy says she's got great Wi-Fi and the meter's the only problem. Cindy, do you have the meter block? Do you have the Wi-Fi version? Uh, I don't understand why that thing's having connectivity problems, but if it does, that would until I don't know. I'd hate to buy it because if I would have to buy that. I don't think Meter's willing to talk to me. I can't remember if I've ever asked them. I've not ever approached Meter about free product before, but uh, in my opinion, it's not something I need enough to where I would buy it, and I'm afraid of it because of the connectivity issues I hear about and the price tag on it. And I don't feel like I need wireless probes. Uh, Most of the time, when I'm talking to people to try to figure out what it is that's attracted them to the meter, it's always been the jotisserie. It's everybody feels like they need to be able to monitor constantly whatever it is they've put on their jotisserie, and that's what attracts people to the wireless probes. Uh, Everything I've ever cooked on the jotisserie, I've got no problem walking out to the grill, stopping the motor, sticking my instant read thermometer in it to find out where it is. And once you've cooked something a time or two, you're going to know how long it's going to take. It's going to be, you're not going to have to worry about it. And I'll tell you something else. I am not going to be running to the grocery store, going to the movies, going get kids at soccer practice or whatever while I've got meat on a rotisserie. I'm not going to leave the house. I can't imagine anybody wanting to leave the house while they've got food on a rotisserie. That just doesn't make sense to me. But then again, what do I know? Who said the Eero system? That last comment, Tanya. Uh, uh, so the Eero system is another really nice mesh Wi-Fi system. Tanya and I bought the Linksys Velop, which is, in my opinion, it's got to be as good as. It's a really good system, and we've got 3 nodes. I've got good, strong Wi-Fi connection everywhere in the house and on the property outside. So Daniel's got a meter block that disconnects. Yeah, I'm a little afraid of it, and because of that, I don't think I'll buy it. But when you listen to James Mack, Smoking Dad Barbecue, he loves that thing. And James, I've never heard James mention any connectivity issues with his. But once again, I don't know. If I needed it, I would buy it. Now, if Meter ever put together a total control system, I might be interested in it. If they had a system that would run my grill, just like this SMOBOT or the Fireboard or something like that, at that point. But then again, at that point, that's going to be a $500 system. If they're $369 without running your grill, imagine what that's going to cost if they offer you a grill control to go with it. James has Canadian Wi-Fi. Oh boy, it must be that good. Boy, I've been through the ringer with my local internet provider in the last week. I replaced a cable modem last week and got some things running here a little bit more smoothly than they have been. Not without a lot of cuss words being said, though. I'm running behind. Has everybody else finished their drink? Going back for seconds? Let's wake Tanya up. You sleeping?
Nope. I'm hanging out with Lily.
Yep. Okay. Well.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to try to do the live stream again for a while. And for now, I'm going to leave it on Thursday. I'm not going to promise that it's going to stay on Thursday, but it is going to stay on Thursday for a while. Yeah, I don't know. You're asking the wrong people. What is the Canadian exchange rate? No, I don't have any idea.
Yeah, on megabit Wi-Fi. So, yeah,
so
that's pretty funny. Ryan thinks I need a dog. I like dogs too. It's just
I would have a dog. I would have a dog. I would love to have a dog too, but I would have to have a place, a decent place outside for the dog to be when we're not home. And we don't have that. So, yeah, I'd love to have a dog because I'd love to have a dog to go walk with me. Yeah.
Yeah. When I moved into this house, I had a registered mountain feist named Sugar Belle. Oh, and she was adorable. And my parents were like, "Well, you don't have a good place for Sugar Belle, so we're just going to keep her here."
Yeah.
With their dog Biscuit. So I haven't had a dog since. And I didn't know I liked cats until John came along.
I like cats. I do. We got a house full of good cats at the moment. We got 3 adoptees.
Yeah.
We got one more than we need.
Yeah. Our little diva can be a little handful, that's for sure.
Yeah. So
that is for sure.
Anyway, what have you guys been cooking? Have y'all done anything amazing and out of the ordinary? Andrew, if he's still with us, man, he posts great stuff every day. He did some lobster bisque this week that looked really good. He's one of these people that shows up here that can cook circles around me.
Thank you, Anthony. We had a grand time. Tristan graduated from high school, so this was his graduation trip. Yes, every photo.
Or no, I need my headphones on.
You got to have headphones on, and then.
But be looking somewhere else.
We had a great time.
Yeah.
We had a great time.
Yeah. We're allergic to cats too, but we're not.
Seriously, but thank God for allergy medicine.
Neither one of us are seriously allergic to them, and we both have the same issue. It never bothers us. Tanya takes medication to keep her allergies in check, but the only time it bothers me is like if we're out of town for a week.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm going to be out of town for most of next week too. I'm heading to San Jose next.
Right.
So I'm not sure how many pictures you guys are going to see because I'm going to be hanging out at Cisco headquarters.
She's not vacationing next week. It's business. So, and the nephew's not going with her. I was going to go with her. She invited me to go along, and I've never been to San Jose, but San Jose is just outside of San Francisco. It's not far, and I have spent some time in that area, and I figured I could go up there. So I decided to have a look, but airfare was going to be $750 for me to fly out there and back, and I just decided I didn't want to go that badly. So I'm going to be bachelor again next week for Tuesday through Friday. Anyway, she's not leaving till I guess Tuesday morning.
Yeah, very early Tuesday morning. I have to be on the road like at 4 a.m.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy.
So
smoked meatloaf. Tanya, we'll do a meatloaf next week maybe. A meatloaf might be something else fun to do. That might be a good one to do on the Weber kettle with I could do a meatloaf because Tanya likes meatloaf and I make meatloaf that Tanya likes. So maybe that'll happen next week.
Well, if it does, I'm not going to think no for next week.
Well, that's right. It'll be the week after.
Maybe the week after that. I mean, you're welcome to do it while I'm gone, but Thank you, Andrew. I do too. Unfortunately, I had to take whatever the travel agency for the college picked. So I have like a crazy flight set up. So
yeah. So
I bet those were delicious. I love smoked
meatballs. I've done smoked meatballs a lot of times. And Andrew, try this. This is something I've done that always makes my meatballs next level. When you're smoking those things, get a foil packet and make yourself a foil packet, punch a few holes in it, put some rosemary and thyme and sage in that foil packet and let that create your smoke, and it leaves a flavor on those meatballs and an aroma that's crazy. Uh, if you're growing any of your own herbs, yeah, 12 hours in Mississippi.
Yeah,
Yes,
I am
Cindy, she is.
flying.
Are you flying into San Jose or into San Francisco?
That is San Jose.
Okay.
I'm flying from Asheville, and then I land in Dallas, and I have like a 2-hour layover, and then from Dallas it's out to San Jose.
But yeah, Andrew, give that a try because that makes some beautiful smoke aroma. I've done that a few times, and it's one of the things I like to do. If you're growing stuff, when you get down to the end of the season, if you're going to trim your rosemary back, uh, you can do it with just the stems. You don't have to have the leaves. The stems will generate smoke that has that same beautiful rosemary aroma to it. So save all that stuff if you're ever trimming any of it back, or when you're cutting rosemary to take the leaves off, save those stems and throw them in your fire because they make crazy amazing smoke. That's beautiful. Chicago style beef sandwiches. Carl, I did. It's not on. I don't think I did that on Man Cave Meals. I think I did that on Kamado Joe. You'd have to look for that one on the Kamado, or if you go to the Man Cave Meals YouTube channel and look in my beef playlist, it's going to be in that beef playlist somewhere. I've done that. I think I just called it pulled beef sandwiches. I don't think I called it Chicago style beef, but there's a newer version that's not like you're thinking, but then there's the older version using the pepperoncini and stuff like that I did. It was an older video on the Kamado Joe channel. Yeah, that's awesome, John. The AGC Argentina steak is a great rub, and I did a brisket with that one time. I used that as the rub, and it was really good. It was yep. That was a good one. I can't remember if that's the one I did with the foil boat method or not. I've done so many of these things, I actually have to go back and look to see which ones are which anymore. Yeah.
Anthony, that's how I felt feeding my nephew in Washington.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Everybody travels. That's another thing I keep seeing in the Facebook forums. When people are traveling, somebody this past week, I think it may have been in the Kamado Joe forum, or I think it was. I see so many, I don't remember. They were going to Nashville, and they were looking for places to eat. They were looking for barbecue in Nashville. And Tanya, I'll give you 2 guesses as to what I recommended for them to go eat in Nashville.
Nashville. The pharmacy?
The pharmacy. That's exactly where I told the guy. I said, they don't have barbecue, but you go get some crazy good burgers at the pharmacy.
It was
I don't search out, when Tanya and I travel, I don't search out barbecue. Mainly because Tanya's not as into it. And I've been to so many of the big barbecue places, with the exception of some of the big ones in Texas. There's still some in Texas I'd like to visit, but I don't search out barbecue. I search out other things. And in Nashville is not particularly known for barbecue. Nashville's all about that hot chicken, and I've got no interest in that. And there's another place that I've got to get out. Tanya and I've got to get out there and eat at E6 sometime. There's a place that's only a few years old out there, and maybe we can hook up with Stephen Hickey and go eat at that place. That's what's his name?
Yeah.
The baseball player from the Pirates that played that week.
I don't remember which one in particular.
His name's escaping me at the moment. The E6 is a baseball reference because he was a first baseman. Or no, I'm sorry, it's E3, not E6.
Yeah.
3 is he played first base for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and 3 is the position of first base in the scorebook, and E3 means that there was an error on the first baseman, and that's what his company's name is E3 Meats. And Adam LaRoche.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There we go.
yeah. But he's got that restaurant out there, and I want to go eat there. And I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't think Steven's eaten there yet. I asked him about it not too long ago, and I don't think he's been in there yet. But maybe we can hook up with the Hickey. Steven said his place is the best place for barbecue, and I wouldn't doubt that because Steven
He can
Anthony is
cook.
Steven's one of the other people I know that can cook circles around me. Yep.
He is
Steven.
definitely some good stuff there.
Yeah, but Tanya and I we ate at a couple good places in Nashville, and that eat or
The pharmacy,
the
yeah.
pharmacy was my favorite one. I had a burger that was what one of it's not the Swedish meatball. It's what's the other Swedish thing? The meatball and gravy and pasta. What do they call that?
Stroganoff?
Stroganoff. I had a stroganoff burger at the pharmacy that was off the hook. Yeah.
I forget what I had. It was good though.
I don't remember what you had either because I was face first into mine.
It was good. So
Yep.
we had to wait a while,
It
but
was
it wasn't
worth
too
it.
bad. Yeah.
The pharmacy's in the middle of some neighborhood. It's off the beaten path, but it's if you're going to Nashville, it's a place you need to check out. I didn't eat any of the hot chicken when I was in Nashville. It's not something I'm interested in. And Tanya doesn't do chicken, period. So I know we're not going to end up in a place like that.
Well, I mean, we can end up in a place like that. I'm just not going to eat the
Yeah.
chicken.
Smoked mushroom stroganoff. Tanya, you'll eat beef stroganoff, won't you?
Yeah, if it's good.
Well,
If
that
it's
means
not
I can't.
good, then
That
no.
means it can't be some I've made.
If
Uh,
it's good, then yeah, I'm all about it. But
Anthony, don't blame us. I think I had some outside. I think Jeff really probably was more
yeah,
instrumental in talking me back into doing this. And here he's not here tonight.
Jeff.
Jeff and
Yeah,
a couple other people. Uh, so we'll see how it goes. I've gotten over a few things that were bugging me the first time around, and it doesn't bug me anymore. So we'll do what we want to do when we want to do it.
yeah. So, but yeah, it was pretty good. And we've got some other projects that we're working on that may be coming down the pipe that you guys will see.
We do.
We do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do I know about these?
Yes, you do. So you sure do. We promised these people a breakfast pizza,
Oh yeah. We hadn't talked about that in a while, but
and we got to do that. And the other thing that we had talked about that we still haven't done is you remember we were going to do the perfect Tanya burger?
the perfect Tanya burger.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll get back on that. And it'll be photos because here's one of the things I have not committed to doing is making cooking videos again. I don't know how much I will or won't do when it comes to making cooking videos. My video production currently, I want it to be product demos and reviews. That's what I'm looking more forward to doing. I've done so many cooking videos that I'm just lacking inspiration to do anymore. uh, you know, I just
We'll
don't have
find
it.
something to
If I'm
that will be.
inspired, well, if I'm inspired to do a video, I'll be surprised. I will do cooking to demonstrate other products, but the video won't be about the food. It'll be about whatever I'm using to make the food. If I do cooking, I would rather just take photos and make a photo essay of what I've done. More people look at that than they look at the videos. So
Yeah, we'll have to get together sometime, Anthony.
70% meat science and 30% grilling.
Oh, maybe if it was the other, it would be more entertaining.
I don't know.
But it's NC State, so you know.
George, glad you could make it. Yeah, I like cooking. Cooking is science, but it ain't rocket science. And that's the one thing I love about the barbecue community. Everybody overcomplicates everything to the point where it's funny sometimes. And I'm guilty of it too. I can't say that I haven't overcomplicated things, because when I was early on, when I was learning how to do this, I overcomplicated everything just like everybody that's coming behind me does. And today I giggle about it, and I shouldn't, because I was one of those guys at one point. But
But hey, you live and
it's
learn.
it's
You
funny.
know.
I like looking at the charcoal debates. Everybody's got beef with whatever trash they found in a bag of charcoal lately. But the pellet guys are really bad. The pellet guys are worried about dust in the pellet bags, and they have these elaborate mechanisms that they use to sift the dust out of their pellets. And all in all, what they're trying to do is avoid doing the maintenance that they need to do after every cook on their pellet grill. I have never had a pellet grill failure. And I think, Tony, I've got 3 pellet grills on the deck at the moment, but I've had a total of 7 pellet grills now, and I've never had a failure. And it's probably because I maintain the grills like this, but I don't sift pellets. I don't feel like I have to, and I dump pellets directly from the bag. I've got a couple of containers out here that I dump pellets into to keep them dry. And then I use those, I dump them right into the hopper. I've never sifted dust out of any pellets. I've never had an auger jam. I've never had a problem. My pellet grills all run exactly like they're supposed to. Yep. Thanks for coming in, Hank. Glad you could join us tonight.
Then you got a gummy loaf. Ooh.
Boater bread. If I wasn't doing barbecue as much, bread's my jam. I've spent a lot of time learning bread, and bread is way more difficult than barbecue. You think getting a brisket right is difficult? Try sourdough. Try sourdough bread. In
Yeah, that
fact,
happens sometimes.
Tanya, I just fed my. I was worried because my sourdough starter has been in the refrigerator for about 6 weeks, unattended, and I took it out the other day and fed it, and it's still purring right along.
Oh,
I
well,
was
good.
maybe that's something I can do next week. I would like to do a loaf of sourdough in one of the grills. That might be something. That might be another fun project to do with the SMOBOT, is to run the Kamado Joe at 500 degrees and cook a loaf of sourdough out there in it.
Well, that would definitely be an interesting test.
Yeah, I
I mean,
haven't done a
that's for
loaf of
sure.
sourdough in a while, but uh, bread, boater, hang in there with the bread. And I've got some good bread videos on the Man Cave Meals channel. Uh, yeah, go back to, I guess it was 2020 during the pandemic. Jeff and I were working on bread projects, and I did my sourdough. I made a video of a sourdough loaf. It came out. It's real well. It's a lot of work. You need to dedicate the day to making sourdough when you're going to make sourdough. Or
I love to bake bread.
my sourdough starts the day before. I start my levain, my starter, going the night before, and the next day I mix my dough at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and I have to deal with the dough once an hour. And no, I don't have anything in the steak locker aging at the moment. I've got some sliced roast beef in there that I haven't put in the freezer yet. uh, I do not have anything dry aging at this moment. I don't.
Well,
But
completely unrelated to anything. North Carolinians, we need to all be super duper stoked, proud, and happy because the Greensboro Science Center has 2 brand new red panda cubs.
Oh boy.
Yeah, twins, a boy and a girl.
Is that the place we went? Did we go to
Yes,
that?
it is. It
That means we're
is.
going back.
Yes.
I'm not taking
Now,
you back there. I'm not taking you back there until after we go to Akron or Canton or wherever it is the heck in
Akron.
Ohio we're going.
Yes, we want to do that. Well, right now they are hand feeding and hand raising, and they you can watch it through the surgery window. They have scheduled times where you can watch them feed the little panda cubs, and they're so cute.
Well, Anthony, Tanya, and I have been planning to go to the zoo in Akron for 3 years now, and I haven't been able to peel her away long enough to go. If she doesn't allow me to get that done this summer during her summer break, I'm going by myself. So,
Well, right now, July is free, but I wouldn't plan anything to the end of July because Carnegie Mellon just sent me an email the other day, and I may be going there again at the end of July.
So,
but
I'm ready to go, and I want to get that done. I want to go see Penny, Lulu, and Coco.
I do too. Panda Palace.
So yeah, all right. Well, I'm going to wrap things up here. We go long like we always do, but I appreciate you guys coming to hang out with me. It's fun, and I'll try to come up with something fun to talk about next week. I don't know what that might be yet, but it could turn into a bourbon night. You never know. Since Tanya's not going to be here, I'll have to make sure I've got Jed.
Yeah, I will. I don't know if I'll be able to tune in because I may be doing Cisco stuff. So I'm really excited about getting to see Cisco headquarters. Woohoo,
Yeah.
woohoo, woohoo.
Tanya's a Cisco geek, among other kinds of geeks.
Yes.
Yeah, I married a geek. Night, Andrew. All right, guys, y'all have a good week, and we'll see you next Thursday.